I wanted to talk about game bloat and why so many games these days are just getting bigger and bigger to the point where people are not even getting close to finishing them. Helldivers 2 is an amazing game, and they're kind of at risk for game bloat. They are at a point where they could have some serious issues as they release updates for the game that could cause it to become way out of control and way bigger than it should be. To start out, I want to point out League of Legends. Now, a lot of people make fun of League of Legends because it's a game for those of us that are, let's say, violent with our words. League of Legends is highly competitive. People that play it very intensely and care about winning. It's got a very large pro scene, and now today it's grown to be quite a large game. It's been out for a long time. League of Legends launched in 2009, and it's been adding champions and adding content since then. Every single year there's new seasons, there's new game modes, and they move through it fairly quickly. So today there's a total of 168 different champions. When you compare that to, like, if you don't play League of Legends, think of like Overwatch or other hero shooters or races in different RTS. Every single champion has a unique play style and a unique way to move through the game. So that means that there's 168 champions that you have to keep track of because you might play against them and you need to understand their abilities. Not everybody wants to get into League of Legends or cares what's going on in that universe. So I've pulled in some other things, such as Warframe. Warframe is a very popular MMO. It's one that I'm a huge fan of, and it has just gotten update up after update. It's been out since 2013, and it's still getting massive updates. It's completely free to play. And I just want to take a second. If you go look up How Long to Beat, it's a great resource to go look and see how long it takes to beat a game or play through a game. The single player campaign, if you want to go through the game, is anywhere between 114 and 1,547 hours. So if you really want to enjoy the game, you're going to be there for really 1,000 hours is fairly reasonable to get everything unlocked. Of course, you can just go and buy it all. The game has built-in ways for you to get access to everything throughout the story. It's a very, very long game. They keep adding more and more, and people to play it. Let's jump over to another one of my favorites, Terraria. This one's very popular. The single player can take anywhere between 52 and 195 hours. They keep adding content. They say that they keep being done. They're not. They just keep adding more and more. This doesn't even include all of the like little side bosses and stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you're starting to skip. Let's go to a more mainstream game, Baldur's Gate 3, right? Main story is 64 hours. If you want the main and the side story, it's over 100 hours, right? These games are getting bigger and longer. Now, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing, right? There's a lot of good games out there that put out high quality content. But the issue is as you keep continuing to add content over time, things are going to get bloated. For example, if you're a new player and want to start playing Warframe, it can be pretty intense. There's so much to learn. People are using abilities or features of the game that you didn't even know existed on a constant basis. I have 500 hours in the game, and I am just constantly like, what is going on? There's so much more to this than I even realize. And so for someone like me, who I would consider somewhat of a veteran, I've been playing it since 2014, to have that level of confusion is a little shocking. League of Legends, I think, is a really good example of what this game bloat actually entails, because you go in to start to play League of Legends, for example, if you're brand new at the game, learning 168 champions is a nightmare, and you have to learn the interactions between the champions that you actually play and the champions that you're going to be playing against. So if you play 200 games, not all of those 168 champions are going to get played. Sometimes you're going to be playing only a small set of those over and over again, and you might get lucky and be able to understand those matchups. But the reality is, every once in a while, you're going to get a champion that has a wacky skin. You have no idea who they are, what their abilities are, and you don't have the time to go and look that up. And so that means that in order to learn 168 different champions that you're playing against, you have to sit down and either watch YouTube videos, just play the game like a crazy amount, or be playing the game with somebody that really knows it well so that they can explain it to you. In my opinion, this is starting to get a little ridiculous with some games. I think League of Legends could cull some of their champions. Sure, people could be upset, but the reality is it's getting a little large, and they're really rejecting new players. It's not friendly to the new player. It's a massive learning curve. Now, It's a great game. I actually like League of Legends despite all of its flaws. I like playing with my friends. And but this game bloat is something that I'm a little bit afraid of for games that are coming out today. For example, Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 is an awesome game. My fear is in 2, 3, 4 years, they're going to be have added so much content that it's just going to be daunting for new players. That being said, something that they are doing very well done is that Helldivers is all about having fun, right? The developers have said that they don't want anything to be meta. They don't want anything to be inaccessible to players. If you want to go in and have fun, you pick what stratagems you enjoy the most. And even though your decisions matter, there are different consequences to everything. So with Helldivers 2, my hope is they maintain that steady trajectory of everything is reasonable to play, everything is fun. Helldivers 2 has seen this massive surge in people playing it, and I really hope that they stay away from the game bloat. It's more of a large scale interaction, and you should be able to join that war effort, right? Spread democracy at any time. Anybody should be able to pick it up and start playing. Games that restrict that really have an issue. Some of the solutions for game bloat are long demos or intro type of things. So to play for 10 hours before I can even play with them. And that's a really big problem. You should be able to play with your friends quickly. The other option is to not do as many updates. Make sure that the big updates don't affect the earlier play. For example, Warframe does this, right? There's some really high-end missions that all those crazy abilities, but for the lower end, you don't often need or encounter all those crazy items. It doesn't matter as long as you're able to keep up and not die. My favorite way to solve the game bloat issue is simply to release a second game. Now, this is a little bit of a hot take. There's so many people in the world that love the games they play. They don't want to buy a second one or reinvest. But sometimes it's just time for a second game. We're seeing this right now with Deep Rock Galactic, right? They are sunsetting Deep Rock 1. Their content updates are slowing down in preparation for other projects. I think this is okay and honestly should be encouraged. If a game is well loved, then you don't need to just keep updating it to keep people engaged. Maybe it's time to let go and move on. A second game gives you a lot of opportunities to fix some of the issues that you ran into with the first. One of my favorite examples of this is Risk of Rain 1, right? Risk of Rain 1 was a 2D platformer, amazing game. I actually never played it until Risk of Rain 2 came out. But my friends that had played Risk of Rain 1, they loved it. It's awesome. Then they released Risk of Rain 2. And what an innovation, right? They went from a 2D platformer to a 3D platformer, implementing a crazy amount of just awesome content that people absolutely loved. It allows you to kind of start fresh and move forward with something that has worked in the past. This has also been what has happened with Helldivers 1, right? Helldivers 1 was decently successful. It sold some copies, kept the doors open. Then they're like, you know what, let's start fresh and do Helldivers 2. And now that's massively successful. I just think it's more reasonable for these game developer studios to release new games that are well done, well executed, and they can kind of take a step back, and instead of trying to constantly patch holes, they can build a whole new boat. And although leaving the first one alone because they are amazing, it's time to release a new one and, ship it and see if people like it. There's lots of games doing this. Obviously, this is the older model. Before the internet, before, they could send updates over the air, that was really your only option. You released a second version of a sequel that fixed or changed or upgraded everything else. And even though the internet has allowed us to do updates, and I'm not saying updates are bad. I love updates, especially to my favorite games. I think it's time that we can kind of take a step back and all agree that maybe having a sequel isn't the end of the world. So anyway, that's all I have to say for today. I hope all of you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe. Check out the rest of our videos on the channel. Best of luck to you. Have a good day.